here's, if you go to ChatGPT, very simply, go to
Hmm.
ChatGPT and you want to create a kind of a customized chatbot that will perform a certain function. So it could be something serious, it could be something fun. So here's an example, right? Like I've got a no bot, and its job basically is just to refuse any requests. Like I really need your help, right? So as a simple example, uh, no, not happening. Try someone else, right? Well, like I mean, as you probably imagine, if I took that same request to to normal Chat GPT and said, I need your help, you know, ChatGPT is programmed to be a helpful assistant. It's going to say, of course, be happy to help you, you see, right? But the no bot totally responds differently, which is to say what? You can teach ChatGPT to respond in a manner that is useful to you. So say, for example, like here's another chatbot that I built. I built a chatbot whose job is to help me prepare for a call. So say, for example, I'm gonna have a call with name a company. What's a company that you'd want to see how AI could be relevant to the company?
Sure, Mark.
Smirk. Okay, great. So if I just type in the word Merck, that's all I'm typing. Okay. And again, maybe here I'll go back to ChatGPT. If I just say Merck, you can see maybe it'll do like, yeah, can you clarify what you need help with? All right. It's like, what are we talking about here, right? Whereas with this bot, I've taught it to do a certain thing, right? Do a little bit of research. Tell me about its key initiatives. Tell me about any recent news, its revenue generation model. Tell me about its products and services, its key personnel, its key competitors, suggested custom GPTs for enhancing internal productivity, right? Maybe a clinical research scientist has daily tasks like reviewing scientific literature, right? You can imagine a GPT that would help, clinical trials, right? Somebody in the marketing department, GPTs there, somebody in regulatory affairs, right? All of this is basically trained on knowledge that I have, and I know that if I need help preparing for a call with Merck, I can just drop the word Merck in and it does a bunch of research, right? So it doesn't do it
Okay.
on its own, but I can teach it how to do it, really simply and really easily. There's loads of examples of this. This is what's called a a GPT, right? So it's basically a simple way to think about a GPT is a pre-written set of instructions to deliver
Mhm.
specific, reliable quality output. And I've written about this, on my blog as well. Like I worked with the National Park Service, and one
Mhm.
one person there with no experience in building had created very quickly in about 45 minutes a tool that's going to save the National Park Service something like 7,000 days of labor this year, right? Just
Mhm.
by kind of programming these tools to do certain things. In that case, uh, completing a statement of work request that is a very kind of standard request for anybody in the Park Service if they need to replace doors or windows or carpet tiles. There's a bunch of paperwork they got to do. And this guy with zero technical ability, homeboy doesn't even have a LinkedIn profile, okay? He's not even on the internet, so to speak. And yet in 45 minutes, he created a tool that's been scaled across the organization, right? So how do you do that? Well, you go to this, there's like a window here on the side. You can see it says Explore GPTs. And then in the top right, you can hit create. I mean, there's like a GPT store, so anybody in the world can kind of look at all the tools that people have basically made public. I think that's kind of interesting, but the more interesting thing for an individual is to say, I want to make a tool that does something for me. And the most
Mhm.
important part of this is actually these instructions here. So this instruction set, which basically you're going to tell the GPT what you want it to do. And then of course, knowledge documents. Is there knowledge that you want this GPT to be able to draw from? So if
Ah,
I'm making a TA, for example, for my course, I might want to upload my syllabus or maybe my book, right? And then if a student asks my TA a question, I could tell this GPT, read my book before answering the question. Find the answer on the syllabus before answering the question, right? Very, very simple things like that. Um, and so it's actually really helpful to think about, okay, what is this GPT supposed to do? And I want to share a quick framework, which
mhm.
actually learned from Joshua Wall, who's the founder of a company called Mindstone. They do AI upskilling in enterprises, and I learned this framework from him, and I really like it. But basically, it's the following. You tell the GPT first, I want you to follow the process that I outlined below, and I want you to respect what's important. Okay? So, and then you tell it who it is. This is whoever is going to give a great answer to the kind of question that you're hoping to ask this specific kind of programmed instance of ChatGPT. Then you want to give it a goal. Say, what is the thing this GPT is supposed to do? And then specify its context. What is the context that it needs? Is this question going to come in the context of a customer service agent responding to a customer complaint? Is it going to be a Salesforce ticket being updated with the latest, customer information, right? You can kind of give context, and then you can specify a process. And usually a process has kind of steps 1, 2, 3, 4 minimum probably. And then there's if you have a template that you want it to use. So for example, if you're looking for output to follow a specific format, you can actually you'll want to reference this template and say, like probably the last step is going to be please output in the format specified in the template below, right? And then you would just specify what that is. And then you want to say what's important. And there are a few things that are kind of important. There are a few tricks to kind of get AI to behave a certain way, right? One is get it to take a deep breath before it answers, right? Get it to outline its thinking step by step before answering, because that's called chain of thought reasoning. It's been empirically demonstrated to yield higher quality output if an AI thinks through its thought process before giving its answer. Because what it's doing is it's basically, whereas if you ask an AI for an answer and then tell it to explain its answer, it's going to ex post rationalize its answer. Whereas if you ask an AI to explain its thought process first, it will then incorporate the thought process that's emergent because it's just predicting the next word. It incorporates all of those next words of its thought process into its answer creation. So it's a great way to get better outcomes, right? And then you can use kind of emotional manipulation, like this actually has been empirically demonstrated to yield better responses, probably because it steers AI towards a part of the internet where incentives matter, where output matters. And then high stakes, if you do a bad job, I'll lose my job. You can play around with that stuff. And then lastly, you want to end with the statement that you started with. Follow the process, respect what's important, because similar to humans, LLMs have kind of primacy and recency bias, which is to say they tend to, even though they should keep in their memory all of this stuff, they tend to overrate the beginning and the end. And if you tell it in the beginning, follow the process, respect what's important, and then at the end, follow the process, respect what's important, it ends up doing what? More often than not, following the process and respecting what's important. So we can go through this kind of line by line in your example. What you do is like, say you figure that out, you just hit close here, and then you can try, I could say testing. Right now, this GPT shouldn't really do much because I haven't told it much of a process, right? So hopefully what you'll see is it probably is confused. Let me know what you mean. It's like, you haven't really told me what you want to do because I haven't given it any input. But if I start to give it instructions, then I can test the extent to which it's aligning with my instructions here in this preview window. And what I recommend is folks have several kind of testing loops in order to verify it's reliably doing the thing I want it to do. And then once it is, and right now you can't hit create because I need to give the GPT a name, but you can give the GPT a name, you can give it some artwork, you can give it a description. And then if you hit create up here in the top right, what you can do is similar to a Google Doc, you can specify, who do I want to see this GPT? Do I want to only see it myself? No one else has access to it? Do I want anybody who has the link to be able to see it, but it's not publicly available anywhere? Or do I want my team, if you're on an enterprise account, you can specify only people from this enterprise can see it? Or do I want to post it to the GPT store and anybody who comes to gpt.com/GPTs can see this thing? You can kind of specify the sharing settings that way. So, and it's really the codification. So what you see with the GPT is it enables a user to codify a set of knowledge, right? When I'm looking for company information, I want you to search the web, to look for these things, then imagine this, pull information from here and give me a response like this, right? So you're codifying a workflow with shareability. What that does is it enables the scaling of the workflow, right? So whereas in the National Park Service, I mentioned earlier the example, my friend Adam, in 45 minutes, he built a tool that's going to save him alone, a day of work every time he's got to fill out an SOW, on behalf of his park. Maybe he does that 10 times a year. That's in 45 minutes, he saved himself 10 days per year, which is astounding and amazing and wow, right? If he only did that. But when he makes it shareable, now he's codified that knowledge and shared it with others. And now anyone in his position, he's a facility manager at a national park. Now anyone in his position can save those 10 days a year. There's 450 national parks, right? And so all of a sudden you start to see that the ability to codify these workflows or these kind of processes and then share that codification with others is where you get kind of exponential returns on these very simple tools.
Mhm.
So that being said, I'll pause here. First of all, I'll see if you have any questions.